Hey, it is Zennial Gamer, and today we're going to be looking at teams for the Hall of Heroes for this month, the Monte Hall of Heroes, if you haven't already done it, or if you've had any trouble getting through it, because it seems like this month is a little bit harder than some of the ones I've done in the past. I thought I'd share my team with you. Now, a little disclaimer, the rune quality on this team is probably higher than a lot of the other PvE content I've tried to display. I can't really promise you how necessary it is or is not to have rune quality at that level, but I believe that if your runes are lower, you should still be able to beat this this level. Now, I will tell you, the team I'm showing you autoed through B7 it autoed through B6 for me easily. On B7, it survived, but barely, and then I went manual on B8 and 9, and we're going to manual B10. You can still auto parts of it, and I'm sure somebody out there could come up with an auto team, but honestly, I just figure it takes me like 5 minutes per level to beat them once a month, compared to the hours it might take to experiment with a different auto team for every different Hall of Heroes. So with that said, let's take a look at the team. So you can see here what we're doing. The basic concept here is we have a mixture of healers and cleansers with attack buff and immunity, and then we're using attack bar boosting and attack bar reduction together so that we basically have a lot of attack bar control. Now, we also get slow from Annabelle and glancing from Charlotte, and then the silence from Poseidon. I'll tell you, the glancing from Charlotte doesn't matter quite as much. The silence from Poseidon is a big key, because the mid-boss this month is Nikki, and she has the ability to do an AoE cleanse and heal. The silence really helps there. Charlotte also gives us stun, and Charlotte and Poseidon are both on despair, so there's some additional stun there as well. Now, this month's Hall of Heroes has a lot more RNG than in previous months, which is why I said it's a little bit more difficult, and it's why I've added in the Annabelle. Normally I would use a Bastet or another damage dealer, and Fran normally provides enough healing, and actually normally provides enough healing for me to auto all the way through. But with the amount of RNG from the Dice Magicians, I was running into some fails, and then combine that with the heal and the cleanse from Nikki, and it was just an overall tougher one, at least for the style of team that I use. I also experimented with a damage over time team, but Nikki, again, kind of prevented that because she can cleanse all the DOTs. So let me show you the runes real quick, and then we'll jump into the stage, and I'll just talk you through how I'm going through the specific orders that I'm using the skills. So for this team, we start off with Fran, who's at 254 speed. She's inviolent. Does not need to be that fast, but faster is always better. You'll notice I'm also using the Verdi speed lead. And again, because we're trying to tie into turn cycling and attack bar control as much as possible, that's why I went with the Verd speed lead. In a normal month, I would be using Poseidon for the attack to get through the stages a little bit faster, but for this month, we're using Verd. Now, the second monster to act for me, unfortunately, is Verd. If I had a second Verd and I built it for PvE, then he would be acting last on this team. That is by far and away the best way to do it for PvE. You want Verd, and PvP too, honestly. You either want Verd to be super fast to attack boost the rest of your team in front of the enemy, or you want him to act last, so after your whole team is gone, they're given a bonus 40% attack bar. Having him act second is just about the worst position that you could really have him in. But I wasn't going to rebuild him just for 1 month of Hall of Heroes, and the role he serves is still really useful because he's giving me the speed lead and he is giving me attack bar boosting that works really well with the attack bar reduction from Charlotte and Poseidon. The third monster who's acting is going to be Annabelle. She's here for primarily the AoE defense break and slow, which you could also accomplish with Mantora. And Mantora, in a lot of ways, is a better fit for Hall of Heroes than Annabelle. But in this case, again, I keep harping on that RNG. There is so much of it. I wanted that backup healer in case, like, a Ludo on the second wave goes 5 times and almost kills a monster. Or in case we get one of the Geminis on the mini-boss stage that manages to get a defense break off. Because Annabelle gives me cleanse as well as heal. So where Fran is giving me immunity, Annabelle is giving me cleanse. I find that to be a better balance. After Annabelle, we've got the Charlotte going. She's going to be at 206 speed in a crit damage despair build. And then we've got Poseidon, who's at 205 speed, also in a crit damage despair build. Both of them are using attack slot 6. They just have some extra HP and subs. Again, I don't know that you really need to have that level of rune quality to pass these stages. It's just the level of rune quality I had on these monsters. What you do need to have is some replacements, though. If you don't have Charlotte and Poseidon, Varad is another great replacement. If you don't have Varad, or you don't have two of those three, you could actually look at something like the Taoist. Wuchi, with his recent buff, would work really well in this team because he's got AoE attack bar reduction and slow and cooldown. Gildong only has the one AoE without the attack bar reduction, but he does have a strip and defense break, which could be really useful on the mid boss. So a lot of the Taoists would work really well here. You could also look at something like Basalt, who's going to give you a defense buff with some heal and AoE attack bar reduction. Basically, the key here is you're looking for as much attack bar reduction as you can get. So if you don't have one of the monsters I'm using, go into the monster search, look for attack bar reduction, and pick the best of the ones that you've got. There are alternatives to Fran, but I mean, let's be real, she's one of the best monsters in the game. Verge you should all have as well, so we're not going to talk about many replacements, but if for some reason you don't have Verd, and an even weirder thing is that you have Bastet and not Verd, then Bastet would work in his place as well. For Anavel, I think we said Mantora would be one option, but if you were to replace Anavel with Mantora, you might need to replace Verd with an AoE cleanser like Delphoy, for example, just to create that balance. It would make the team slower, but it would make it safer. So now that we've talked about replacements, let's go ahead and run out this fight. Now we're on dungeon B10. I actually recorded a couple of the earlier dungeons, but I figure if you see B10, you don't need to see the earlier ones, and we'll try not to make the video too long. You actually can still auto portions of this. I call it like semi-auto. Basically, what we want to do is make sure we auto through each stage to the point where we know manual through each stage to the point where we know we're safe. Then we can auto out the stage unless we're trying to manage our cooldowns. So we're going to start off just giving ourselves an attack bar boost. On this stage, I am actually going to go ahead and use my defense break on the Anavel, but I'm going to hold my attack bar reduction and go for the stun instead. And then we'll just go ahead and pop this Clara. We should get a little attack bar reduction from the Fran. Even without the proc, I think we still would have been fine. We'll go ahead and finish off here. And from this point, we're basically just conserving our cooldowns. We already did the big damage we needed to do. And most importantly, we're bringing ourselves back to the AoE attack break, or AoE defense break from the Anavel on the next stage, which is why I haven't gone to auto yet. I want to make sure I still have that defense break when we come out on the next stage, and if I autoed, the AI would have used it. So we'll go ahead and do our attack buff again. We'll go ahead and use our Verd again. And the reason it's so important to have this right here is because those Ludos are just toxic. On B8, I actually had a Ludo go like 5 or 6 times on me and almost failed because of that. I lost my Charlotte on that stage and went through the rest of the way 4-man. So we'll go ahead and use our silence here. We're going to save our attack bar reduction for the Nikki on the next stage. We'll go ahead and just auto out the rest of this stage as well. And Nikki is the first place where we'll be able to do a little bit of semi-auto. So now we're going to go ahead and just reduce the attack bar of that Gemini. We'll work up the other Gemini, see if we could land a sleep, which we did. But we're going to trade the sleep for the defense break because that turn cycled us, and we're going to try and stun those Geminis. Since we did not stun the Geminis, we're going to stay on auto until we do. As soon as the Geminis are under control, we're going to stay on manual until we do. As soon as the Geminis are either dead or under control, at that point we can go ahead and switch to auto and auto out the rest of this stage. Now the silence here is really important so that Nikki doesn't cleanse. And you'll notice I'm just working the 2 Geminis down kind of equally because I've got so much AoE by keeping them both fairly low. And at this point now I can actually auto because the Geminis will die to an AoE. So all I did is really just work both of the Geminis down at the same time and get everybody silenced and then switch to auto. Now the Geminis are dead to AoE and we can just auto out. A little before the Nikki dies, I'm going to go ahead and turn off auto and try to preserve cooldowns going into the next stage. Probably should have done it a little bit sooner, but if you notice, we caught it onto auto just in time, so Anavel did not waste her attack break, her defense break, which is the only thing that really mattered. Now this stage is another decision point because those Delphoys are kind of toxic. We need to make sure that they're under control. So we're going to go for the stun, and since we didn't get it, we're going to go for the silence, and since we didn't get it, we're going to be in for a longer fight. We should still be fine. It just means that we're going to have to wait since we have no cleanse, and we're going to have to try and keep ourselves healed up. So this is part of the reason right here why we've brought that Anavel in. because we can get that extra additional healing, which is really important. We're going to save our skill 3 on the Charlotte because obviously there was no point to use it. And we'll go ahead and actually just top off the Verd's health right now, even though that was a little bit of a waste. I've got 2 healers on the team, and I just want to make sure I stay safe as long as I can. Now you'll see I'm attacking the Delphois even against attribute advantage, and the reason for that is because the Delphois are the real problem on this stage. Now, I did go ahead and stun even with immunity up on 2 of the monsters, but I am going to hold my attack bar manipulation here. I wanted that stun just because of the defense break over on the Verd, just because I'm a little bit worried about Verd's health at the moment. Now, we'll go ahead and take our stun right here. We'll go ahead and heal the Verd, and we can pretty much auto out from this point, and we should be able to... well, I was going to say we could auto the rest of the way, but at this point, better safe than sorry. We'll go ahead and conserve our cooldowns again for the rest of this stage, and then after we get about halfway through the next stage, we'll be able to auto right out to the end. The boss stage is actually one of the easiest stages. All you have to do is just manually target the tableau on the side, and then you're good to go. So we'll go ahead and get our defense break going right here. We've already got our immunity up. We'll go ahead and get our stun, and now we should just be able to auto out the rest of the way through the entire B10. If you wanted to make things a little bit more conservative, you wouldn't have to auto in that stage because you'd be in better shape with your cooldowns, but like I said, it really doesn't matter all that much. From here, we just need to take care of that tableau on the side because he's got the attack bar reduction, and then the water ooh. Whoa, okay, that was a harder hit than I expected, so I took back over control, as you could see, made sure that the heal went to the right place, and now I can go ahead and auto back out again. And so this is what I meant by semi-auto, is just basically making sure that your team is safe and not going to die, but not having to like mash the buttons over and over, which takes forever. And from this point, we're pretty much good. I know there's the defense break on the Fran, but I'm not worried about it in a 5-on-1 situation. So there you guys go. That is my B10 team for the Monte Hall of Heroes. I hope you find it helpful. I hope you're able to go through this month's Hall of Heroes. And I thank you, as always, for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Hey guys, if you enjoyed the video, please pop that subscribe button over on the left. It shows me that you enjoyed the video, but more importantly, it shows me that you found the information useful and hopefully it helped you in your gameplay. So here's the deal. You pop subscribe and I'll keep popping out content. Thanks guys.